Hello and welcome to episode 149 of Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, a weekly podcast where we figure out what the heck we think is going on and figure out what we think about stuff and talk about stuff. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
And that was the best intro I've ever done. This week we're going to talk about self-worth.
Yes.
Valuing yourself. Asking for enough money, mainly, is the crux of it.
That's where it all started.
And just women, stop being so shy about asking for what you're worth.
It's a true story.
I can say that. I can't say that, but Ivanka can say that.
I think it might even be better coming from you, but yes. I will repeat it. I think other men need to hear you say it.
Yeah, men, stop letting women undercharge by like 70%. Or I don't know. It's like there's the gender pay gap, and then there's just the general professional confidence thing that I see in some women that I care about the most, and I get a bit infuriated with their attitude to valuing their work and their time, and I don't know what to do but yell at them about it. I'm hoping Ivanka can help me figure out a better approach.
Yelling, yes, almost never works. But it's ranting. But I think it's valid because it's not just then. I think that charging the right amount for a day's work is definitely a thing. So is understanding when other people should shut up and listen to you. It's like, no. Actually, I do know what I'm talking about, and I don't have to listen to you. That is another form of valuing your worth, I think, which still, happens to me almost at least weekly, if not daily. And like as a man, it's always been a decision when I've gone, okay, I'm scared to ask for this much money, or I'm scared to say I can do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think I'll be all right. My experience with working somewhere is that it's hard for the first couple of days, and then it becomes boring because you're just doing it every day. So anything that looks too hard to start with, you're going to be nailing it within about a week, and then are you going to be stimulated, and are you going to be, or are you just going to be sort of like taking on more and more of other people's stuff because it's too easy for you. But yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, and Sharon's doing this cross stitch at the moment, which says carry yourself with the confidence of a mediocre white man. That's all you have to do. Just start from there. It's true.
Stop making excuses. That empathy thing of like sort of making excuses for the person that's exploiting you. I find it very wearing because you've got to stand up for yourself, and I don't know how to get someone to do that. Ivanka Majic.
It's going all right, I think. I don't have a big list like I had last week.
Like left and right and around.
I was like, I don't know, sure. Quick. It's good. I've worked. I'm working a little bit less, which is always a joy. Which means that I could do a bit of afternoon with the small child and a little bit more of walking the dogs and that kind of stuff. I also had this week where every day I thought it was a day further than it was. So on Monday, I panicked that I hadn't seen you share a link to the podcast. And I was like, oh my God, what's happened? Where is it? And then I was like, it's Monday, not Tuesday. Pull yourself together. And the whole week has been like that. And then yesterday I had a workshop. I had a workshop with a client a few weeks ago that just didn't go very well. And it was like a bit of a team not gelling. But it's always bad communication, isn't it? Anyway, we had a workshop with the same client yesterday, and I think it went very well. It's a nice thing to end on. And I will say that I ordered some nice beer. We're going to put a Croatian link in the notes today to I found a nice little brewery I know people should drink responsibly, la-di-da-di-da, but I found this organic beer, Croatian organic beer called Campagnola, and ordered us a case for Christmas, I did.
Okay.
Quite happy with that. So yeah, that's it really. That'll do, won't it, for an intro?
Lovely.
How are you, Michael?
I'm good. You may hear some background noises. There's people in coming to fix the heating, and hopefully some hot water in this building that I've been in for the last sort of 2 years.
Exciting.
You could maybe able to hear them banging stuff. Also, we haven't got hot water at home. Our heating's working, but our hot water's sort of barely lukewarm or anything. So I had sort of a relatively cold shower this morning, but I actually really enjoyed it. It's sort of because actually hot showers are a pretty modern invention, aren't they? So the body has ways of enjoying cold water. I just felt like, you know how Superman's got a layer of super invulnerability that extends just sort of outside his clothes so that the clothes don't get ruined.
I now that you mention it, I've observed this phenomenon.
It sort of feels like that in a shower. It's like your body creates this layer of warmth around you, even though the water's cold. So yeah, that was fine. I felt really good when I came out of that shower this morning. So there we go.
Cold showers, sorry if I may interject. Yeah. Cold showers are meant to be very good for you in terms of if you can do, I think it's 30 seconds to a minute every day under the cold water. It's meant to be very good for your mental health.
Well, it felt good, and I felt good afterwards. My brother said this last night. So cold showers good because
he's a plumber.
I always consult with him about plumbing, advice, just to sort of get a second opinion, find out if it's something we can do ourselves. But yeah, so we're hopefully that's fixed today, and hopefully there's hot water in this building as well after today, which will be nice because I can wash my mug properly and I won't have to, always wash my hands in cold water. Do you know what I forgot to say in last week's credit episode, interest episode, was I forgot to recount my credit card cancelling experience.
Which was the prompt of the whole thing.
Yeah. But I just in summary, I was obviously on the phone for 50 minutes, sort of on hold and variously. You get through, you say, I did literally press the button about the subject, and then they go, oh, that's the subject you want after 45 minutes, and then we'll put you through to whatever. And I'm like, I'm definitely going to be on the slow track if I want to permanently cancel a credit card. But the woman, one thing was she kept fixating, there's a penny left in this account. Do you want to close it? Okay, where do you want to send this penny? And make it going through the bank details twice for this one penny. And there was £5 on the credit card. I was like, yeah, just put them in. And where do you want me to put that one penny? Okay, what are you talking about? But then the other things, you've got some points on this credit card. So I've had this credit card for, 15, 20 years. I'm like, points, that's the thing, isn't it, with credit card companies? And she goes, okay, let's have a look what you can get with those points. And I'm like, I'm going to get some money. And then it's like, okay, you can have looks like you can have a £20 gift voucher. Would you like that to be Marks and Spencer's or Sainsbury's? And I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks for that. So I've got my £20. That's what my loyalty was worth. £20 of Sainsbury's vouchers, and they definitely never. It's interesting that it's such a round number, and such a conveniently token piece of reward that you're giving me. Thank you. Anyway, that's not interesting or funny. So let's get on to the episode. But your
self-deprecating comment afterwards was, so you saved it.
There we go. It's easy. You just say something boring and then you self-deprecate and it gets a little laugh.
Hilarious.
Pity laugh.
Yes.
Gave myself a coffee migraine on Sunday as well, just by simply skipping my first coffee of the day.
Nearly did that on Monday. No. Yeah. Wednesday, when I went to the accountant, I didn't tell you the story about my Brexit experience. But anyway, went to accountant to talk about depressing things about Brexit. And I'd had no coffee. I was nearly dead by the time I got home. And I'm not exaggerating at all.
It's no joke. I had a coffee a bit later, but then as it was getting to the early evening, I was like, this is starting to really hurt. And it doesn't respond to painkillers, that coffee headache. No. So yeah. Awful. Dangerous and addictive, and I quit and then I started again. But
it's delicious though.
Is it?
It is. Don't.
I just drink instant now because I don't want to fetishize coffee as anything more than a drug. So deal with it. Okay. What I do fetishize is this grand podcast mug experience.
I did listen to, we must get to the topic. I did listen to a podcast I will send you and put in the notes, the Feel Good Live More one, which talked about food and all the lies we've been sold. But one of the things that it was very, very clear on is that the more processed your food is, the worse it is for you. Doesn't matter.
I've been saying that for years.
Says Mr. Instant Coffee.
Okay, but I'm not eating coffee as food. I'm using it as a drug, and I'm not dressing it up or pretending it's anything else.
So I like my coffee out of coffee.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
That's nice to have. Let's talk about self-worth. How much do we value ourselves? How much of that is comparing yourself to others?
I was going to say that first, and then I paused for a moment. I thought about whether it starts with celebrating and acknowledging, or even acknowledging your achievements. I did that this week. I did today. I have, rather than waiting for somebody else to notice your achievements. And perhaps, if you're a cocky, mediocre white man, you don't need to do that. But I think if you're an imposter syndrome woman, or you do, you need to go, do you know what? I did that. That's because of me. That's because of something I thought of, or something I did, or some work that I put in. And then because waiting for other people's acknowledgement and recognition and comparing yourself to other people is quite a rocky path, potentially, and potentially quite dodgy.
And actually, like accolades, no one really in life gets accolades without looking for those accolades.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't get an award. No one's getting those Oscars without putting like £1 million into promoting their thing and sending gift baskets to all the different judges and all that kind of stuff. A work, if you want to get noticed, you've got to start doing self-PR and start, like, this is what I did at LBI, to start like sending emails and being a thought leader, and just people are just focused on themselves. So if you're waiting for someone else to recognize you and thank you,
I think,
or that if they do, like Sharon has someone like a boss that like does a thank you day every I don't know how often that is. I mean, I suppose it's better than nothing, but you sort of get the feeling that, well, I mean, he's just sort of doing the rounds, thanking everyone, whatever. But like, you sort of want to feel special sometimes. You want to feel like you're like, if I don't know how that works.
Well, I think in the what I have and what I've developed over the years is I have women friends, I think in particular, who are very good at telling you you've done well and that you're doing well. And I think taking the time to tell people they've done well. Remember that everyone you're working with is probably in the same sort of like, it's got the same imposter syndrome as you. Let's assume that, especially, I know it's a gender thing, but go around and say to people when they've done something good, that was a really good idea you had. I would never have thought about that if we hadn't had a chat about it. Making sure the right people get acknowledged for work they've done is also, I think, quite important.
Yeah. And do you think there's a public acknowledgement versus a private acknowledgement thing there as well, or like is that something you'd think about? Or
it depends how bizarrely, for somebody who's recording a podcast, I don't really like people looking at me, or it's a bit of a funny. It's like I don't, but I really appreciate when people I respect just telling me that I did well, or that something I did was good. And I can carry that then through other, that really bolsters me personally. That sort of thing really bolsters me. And I think I have been lucky over the years to work with lots of people I admire who have told me that they enjoy working with me, or worked in teams. I think LBI was a good one at this, of like sitting down, you've done a presentation and doing a little bit of around the table just with a drink going, right, how do you reckon we did? Oh, you were good. I'll give you a 9. You could have, you didn't bring your A game, but it was all done my experience of it was that it was done in a very, how can we do better next time way, however jokey it might have been. And I appreciate that. I appreciated the moments when I got told that I'd done really well, because I like the people I work with. It's like,
there's nothing better than, like, I think I'm someone that wants to hear it from someone I respect, and someone like, I mean, it's nice to get it from elsewhere. And obviously, like, I've spent my whole life looking for ways that people can call me, say nice things to me, but it also means that they can say nasty things to me. But I mostly say, oh, that's amazing. But so I like what you're talking about there. But then, obviously, I've worked at places as well, like, where they had their own like awards ceremonies. And they're like, it just turns into this self-congratulatory, stop it. Like, it's embarrassing. It's kind of gross. And they're trying to sort of like create this culture of like thanking people. And when it comes to like businesses appreciating you,
I want my employer to pay me.
You have to also get the money. Yeah, you have to get the money first.
Cheers for the certificate, but what about my wages?
Yeah. I'm an employee of the month, 10 months in a row. Great, but you're not paying me. Like, because at the end of the day, like, isn't that all that... That's the transaction.
It is.
Like, you need the other stuff, but you need this to be... At least you're getting paid enough for what you're doing. But that simultaneously is... nothing doesn't mean a good job that you're happy doing at all. It's
and sometimes those kind of, like you said, they're a bit like I think there is something British culturally that's not very good at going, here's a certificate.
Yeah, well done.
Here's a thank. We're not very good at that culturally. Yeah. That's we are supposed to sort of thank yous are supposed to be low key events, not a big American style. Hi, you've done really well. So there's something kind of that makes many of us, I think, you and I both recognize that kind of discomfort. But also often those things come up, they sound backhanded.
Right.
For me, in my experience of people occasionally introduce, and here comes the only woman I've ever seen do X. It's like, what? You? Can't you just say that I did a good job? Why do you have to refer? You know what I mean? It's like, I remember the worst thing that happened to me.
I mean, I don't, because it hasn't happened to me. But
it's like for a girl,
the only man that's ever done a good job.
She's doing really well for a girl. And so I remember a public recognition of the way I am actually giving me a big problem at work one time, which was... At a Canonical, when one of the VPs introduced me to talk at a Some Hands event. The only person I've ever seen stand up and argue with Mark Shuttleworth, Ivanka Majic. And I was like, I'm f***ed then, aren't I? It's publicly, that is not lifting me up. That is highlighting to Mark, like, that he... that's a kind of, he's undermining his authority. It's a really...
Did he take, I mean...
It took me... I don't think it was taken very well.
Right.
Everybody was like, sharp intake of breath. And I was like, it probably took me 6 months to repair that.
Oh, Lord.
But, I'll give another example of where people go, where I didn't mind it, though. So at university... first year of electronic engineering, because I'd done so much maths in Yugoslavia in school. My algebra was, like, I could do it in my sleep. And then I did a couple of maths A-levels, got to engineering, and most of the people weren't very good at maths. And I was still a girly swat, like, the professors at the front solving whatever he was solving. I'd be like, it's X squared or whatever, I'd be shouting out. Okay. And after a while, because it was that kind of a class, and after a while he just went, what's the matter with you lot? She's a girl and she's got all the answers. And I was like, in that case, and he was like, then he came over and he goes, please don't report me to the Equal Opportunities Board. I'm always getting into trouble. And I was like, in this context, you're very welcome to highlight the fact that I'm a girl and I'm beating them all. But most of the time, it doesn't really lift you up. It's like, you're doing all right for a girl.
In terms of the fundamentals of self-esteem,
yes,
where it's like a lot of it has to come from inside, and if you're looking at that if you're looking for external sort of like adulation, what's the word, affirmation, then that's kind of like hard to come by. And then there's also this fact that we're a lot more sensitive to criticism than we are to praise. So you can get like 10 compliments, but like the one criticism sticks with you and like ruins your life. There's a certain amount of like just basic self-esteem stuff you have to figure out and become like a bit more. Even if, like, for me, I think there's this difference of sometimes you just got to, like, take a bit of a leap of faith and say, okay, well, I don't feel confident. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to do this right now. But, like, if I look at the evidence, if I step back from how I feel and just look at my history, there's lots of evidence to support the fact that, hey, look, I was really scared before this job. And within, 3 days, I was, like, teaching the manager how to do things, it's like but it just emotionally, if you're not, I don't know, if your mind tends to go to negative places, or if you're in a place where you're like not feeling that good, it's very easy to just fixate on the negatives, ignore all the positives, and then like value yourself according to that. And that is one of the biggest mistakes you can make, especially if you're committing to a salary or committing to a job or committing to whatever, some set of responsibilities. I
think that there's a kind of, how you practice the gratitude thing. Yes. I think there's a similar sort of exercise to be done, which is just to acknowledge your achievements. What have I achieved? Because I think by stopping and looking at them, or I don't do the gratitude thing in the same way as you do, but I do stop and go, if I'm spiraling into something, I go, right, okay, well, I've got this and I've got that, and I count out the things I'm happy for. I think it's the same sort of exercise to go, no, you did do this. I did that. I and then count a few of them. And nobody is going to know. Nobody other than you knows how hard that was for you to do. So it's like, I managed to, I remember after for some reason during pregnancy, I became really claustrophobic. And I couldn't go on the tube. I'd get quite panicky. And so, like, it's happened anyway. And I just would get on the escalator, start sweating, and I just couldn't do it. So I walked everywhere. That's probably good for me. But then slowly, sort of, coming back to do more work, coming back into London, it's like, I've got to get on the tube. I can't. And like just acknowledging. I know it's not professional achievement, but saying, well done. I got on the tube today. For most people, that is no achievement at all. But for me, on that day, that was a major milestone. And the same could be standing up in a meeting and talking to somebody. It could be simply responding in a meeting. It could be all of those like little things that look really easy to other people but are really hard for you to do. Stop and tell yourself you did it. I did it. Yes. So I think that's that sort of internal. But I think for women, nothing quite beats having a group of other professional women to tell you to go, no, you cannot ask for that. That is not enough. Yeah. One of my friends calls me, we were having a chat in the week because something along these lines came up because someone's not listening to me. And she was like, as your non-work manager, I need to encourage you to. And I think seeking out those people is also of huge value, because only they can go, no, it's perfectly acceptable to ask for whatever number you think is outrageous on your day rate.
Yeah. And I think there's something I notice sometimes is this like sometimes you have got to push for something, and you've got to make the other person uncomfortable. Like you feel like you're making the other person uncomfortable. And I don't know if I want to say, but like sometimes I see there's like an immediate like apology for that, and like if you let people off the hook immediately rather than letting them sweat it out and talk to someone else and like figure out if that's how much they want to pay you or whatever the question is, like you have to be able to do that. And I don't know if that's if you're kind of used to apologizing for yourself, if you're used to sort of like trying to sort of keep everyone happy or whatever it is, then you can you've got to put pressure on people a little bit. You've got to kind of go, look, you got to let them feel the squeeze before you let them off the hook and compromise. But if you just go straight into an immediate compromise, I just see this pattern sometimes, and I think you're not helping yourself.
I think it's the same for chasing money as well when people haven't paid you. Terribly sorry to bother you. Would you mind awfully paying for the work that I've done? It's like, it is really hard to look at somebody. I find it really hard to say a number to somebody to their face. But this week I had the experience on the subject of acknowledging what you achieved. I was talking to somebody about doing literally a day's work reviewing their product. And already in the half-hour little catch-up we had, I asked, I gave some value in that free pre-call half hour. And then towards the end of the call, it was like, would you like to follow up with day rates and things? I was like, no, I can tell you. I was like, no, my day rate is in the there's no like, this is... So I was kind of pleased with myself that I just said it. That was it. It wasn't a negotiation. It wasn't an apology. It was like, this is the number, and now let's move on to I'm free on Monday.
I'm sure I've been guilty of going like, is this much? Yeah. But which has a very different effect. This is my day rate.
Yep.
Let's move on.
I've never done it before. I've never done it so smoothly before. I was so pleased.
That's good. Nice work. I'm proud of you. Wow. I'm proud of you. Yes, good work. Yes. But yeah, like this, I think there's definitely something. I mean, I do this, like if I need a result, I will probably have an unembellished, here is a thing that I need you to do. And then once I can see that that's locked in, then be as nice and kind and make as many jokes and have fun again. But if you just if you don't, I feel like I don't know if this actually works for me or not. I feel like it must do, but you've got to just make it their problem for a bit, because they might have to fight for you to get paid more. And if you're not even fighting for yourself to get paid more, then why would they fight for you?
Totally. I mean, that's how I present. I basically, in this instance, and it was probably bolstered massively by my Tuesday morning catch up with my mate Claire, and she and I have this this happened at work, that happened, oh god, that reminds me of blah blah blah, this is what, have a little rant. So I was feeling full of the female energy, but I'm 46 now. Surely I should be able to say to somebody, this is how many hundreds of pounds you're going to have to pay me today if you want me to show up. I had a conversation with some people relatively recently about potentially being on some kind of a retainer. It never came to anything, but I spoke to Nick first. Nick's also been a massive, I have to say, for me personally, my husband is incredibly useful for me to go in and go, what do you think about this? And he's going, well, if you want to do it for free, it's up to you. I was like, look, I know you would happily do this project for free, but we've got bills to pay. And he'll kind of go, no. So he's enormously helpful to me personally in this context. But this thing came up and I was like, I just don't know what to price it at, because it's not a normal day rate thing, it's something else. So I asked a woman, and she who's a headhunter, she gave me a number that's much higher than my current day rate. But then I spoke to Chris Kenyon, It's like, do you mind terribly? And I was like, this is the work, this is me. And he doubled what she suggested. And I was like, no. It's like, I'm not saying this as somebody who would pay you this, because right now that's not the kind of fit, but what you're describing and what I know of you and what your skill. And I was like, so it is, I think that's why I said at the very beginning of this is kind of up to men to help fix as well. And other men hearing from you is probably more effective than them hearing from me.
Yeah. And here's the like I my recent experience in this as a, you know, I'm making apps and that's all I've got, was as my app was taking off earlier this year, it was on sale for $2.99, and I just happened to watch this talk that says you've always got to ask for more money than you think you should be asking for. And I put it up to $3.99 and the sales stayed the same. And then I was making whatever % more money.
A lot.
And that
that's
that
a lot.
added up.
Yeah.
Right. And it's you feel uncomfortable about doing it. So this isn't just about letting the other person feel uncomfortable. This is about letting yourself feel uncomfortable as much as anything as well. Like, oh, but they might just say no and then I'll have nothing. Like, that's the fear. And it's a terror. It's a real bad, oh, they'll just find someone else. It's a real fear. But when, you know, like, you know, Chris saying, like, is when you estimate, I don't know, like, I think of this in terms of just planning a project. When you estimate how much work something is, you need to double it anyway. So it sort of keys into a similar thing, which is you don't feel like it's worth that much or it's going to take that long, but it always will. And you've just got to sort of force yourself to go, okay, well, I'm going to double this.
But it's the same like this half-hour chat I had with this guy in the week. It's like, you know, as soon as he contacted me to put the thing in, I've started to think about his product and his area of what, you know, like, it's like, you have used up my brain cycles. So the very least you can do is pay, the time we've actually got booked into a calendar, the very least you can do is actually pay me for that time. So I think it's, you know, if he'd have caught me on a different week, I might have gone, do you mind terribly? But I didn't on Wednesday. I was really pleased with myself.
Here's something that I think is a symptom of something where I think it's, I mean, I'm just working out this theory as I go, but I think there's a symptom of you undervaluing yourself, which is where you're constantly frustrated by how bad everyone else is or how little everyone else knows. And because you feel like, because your self-worth is low, your expectations of other people are much higher than you realize. And you start sort of criticizing other people in the same way that you're criticizing yourself, instead of what you should be doing, which is realizing that you have more than them in terms of what you're offering and what you understand. And that, if you're subordinate to them, or if they're not pulling their weight, like, you can't just wait for them to catch up with you, and you can't just be angry at them for not knowing something that's obvious to you. It's like, you need to remember that, like, you're bringing something to the table that, and maybe you should be, I don't know, more in charge, or like doing something that's a bit of a better fit for your expertise and, like, you know, your real level of ability.
What happened to me on Tuesday in my chat with my friend is because I've been doing some user research on a topic that there is very little, if any, existing user research on. Like, it's the very beginning of a thing. Doesn't matter what the thing is. I was chatting to her, I was like, and there's somebody that I'm working with who just doesn't listen to what I say. It's like going back to, like, the very worst kind of developer who you come to them with as the user researcher, designer, goes, this is what we need to make, and they go, la 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 la, I'm going to just build this. And then you go, where's that thing I asked for? And they go, well, I made this. Well, yeah, but where's the thing? And I literally had this conversation. I was talking to her, I was like, as it stands at the moment, I am effectively a world expert in this topic, because I am the only person to date who has put any time into interviewing users in this field. And it was like, until I'd said it out loud, I was like sitting there thinking, well, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I am 46 years. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, at the end of the day, right, just shut up and listen to me. Why do I have to have a negotiation with you at the I am doing you the courtesy of presuming you know what you're talking about, even though I have a big question mark over my head, but prove me wrong. Whereas you are talking to me, you who are at least 10 years younger than me, are not listening to me because you don't want to. Oh, that
it's too hard, isn't it?
Does my head in. And I think it is an experience that is unique to women who have to work with men. I really do. And I just have no... I've even shouted. I've got angry with them. I was like, do what the you like then. I don't care. I was like...
Yeah. Ever since...
Irritating. Sorry, Auntie Annette, for the swearing.
No, but it's all getting bleeped. So, but men looking to understand this, just think of a time someone patronised. Just like ever since Sharon pointed out about my bike shop experience, this guy telling me something that I obviously knew. To me, it's like, why are you telling me this? Why are you patronising me? And how angry I got about that. Just men. If you got an experience like that somewhere where someone you right off for like assuming you didn't know something that you did know, and now just try doing that every day.
All the time.
And while everyone expects you to be smiley and friendly the whole time, see if that's something you'd like next time you do it to a woman. Like, I think that's a way I've found some empathy with it.
I think it's a really good point, because it's like, you know, the minute it's like, oh, Ivanka, you seem a bit agitated today. No, I'm agitated because of you. You are agitating me. I'm not agitated today. I'm wonderfully happy today. You, though, are an arsehole, and it's really hard to say that in a business meeting.
Oh God.
But yeah, but all of that, and then sometimes I was like, I'd come down to Nick and go, do you know what? I'm just not being paid enough to take charge of they're paying me to be the user research. They don't pay me to lead the project. Pay me to lead the project, and then I'll put up with a bit more of this bullshit. But right now, all you're going to do is you're going to get the user research, and that's the kind of because that's also a cost. It's an emotional cost. It's a massive emotional cost to have to deal with. Anyway.
So I'm talking to someone yesterday, and they're saying, I've agreed to do this work for a client, and I'm charging less than usual because I'm using a new skill that I haven't, that I'm new to. And so, and I can be specific. She's doing some motion graphics for a company that she's worked for ages, and that I think has a history of like taking the a bit. So I'm sort of straight away, I'm like, okay, you're undercharging. Why? And it's like, oh, well, I haven't done much After Effects before. I'm like, okay, but you'll figure it out. One, you'll figure it out. You're going to be fine figuring that out. But also, you need to charge your day rate because you're going to probably be working a bit late to figure some of these things out. So they're getting probably more time for what they're paying for. The other thing is, you are bringing that raft of professional experience and working together and understanding of deadlines and taking responsibility. That is like 70% of what they're paying you for. The skill bit, anyone can figure something out given a bit of time. And also, you're going to go so much more quickly through any sort of graphic design, layout stuff, like just aesthetic judgments, that someone that has only done, someone coming out of university that happens to have done 2 years of After Effects is not more qualified than you with your 3 months of After Effects and a lifetime of professional experience just getting jobs done. And so just why are you like taking a hit on this?
Did you notice my body language? I was like leaning down listening when you said I'm charging less, and I was like, my head came up. It's like, but I think that is conditioning. That is not, that's why I think these achievement side of it you've got to list all the things that you know how to do. Like, as a user researcher, I add a particular value because I used to write software. So I have this understanding of things that another user researcher doesn't. And maybe I have less. I did a HCI master's. I didn't do a full psychology degree or something or whatever. But I've got this other thing. It's like you've got to count the things that you are good at. And I don't know in that particular scenario. First of all, it's too late now because it's been agreed. Yeah. But it's also when people do career changes, unless it's blatantly going from hedge fund manager to charity yoga instructor, exactly, then most of the time you don't actually need to take a pay cut because you're moving your professional skills around.
Exactly. And I think there's a certain amount of like negative thinking and like fixating too much on the negatives. But there's also, I think, there's a part of this which is like feeling like you're taking advantage of someone by charging them more when, but I haven't done this exact thing before, and I'm getting something for nothing, and that's not what this transaction is. And also this idea, they're paying me, like that money is so much more valuable than your craft and everything that you're bringing to the table. No, like you need to. Like it's hard to quantify yourself, which is essentially what you're doing by setting your day rate. Like you're saying, I am worth this much in money, and you're not ripping someone off.
No,
you're not getting away with something.
No. And that, I think that is so hard for. It's hard for me when I'm like with particularly with when I'm dealing with another freelancer, or I'm dealing with a small business, or I'm like, do you mind terribly if I charge you this much money? It's like, I mean, obviously there's rates for different people, I have different rates for different stuff. But if it's that idea that you are in some way ripping somebody off, I think that's the underneath of it. It's like, how can I possibly give this much value in a day? What do you want from me that will add up to that much money? Or like, how can I possibly do enough?
And if you know you know that you'll probably give that, right?
Yeah. But I think the only thing that helps with that is finding out what other people are charging. Yes. There's no other way. Hello, I'm just about to start this project. What do you think? I'll phone up 3 of your friends. Cry with men first. Like how much? So you're not expressly asking them what they are charging. Just say, this is the situation. How much should I charge? That's it.
Yeah.
Like, and then get an idea, because how do you know? There's not a price list. They're not all sitting on a shelf in Waitrose going, oh look, here's this kind of a designer, that kind of a designer, and this kind of. So you've got to ask.
Yeah, and also and also remember, like, this doesn't go both ways. The business isn't going, we feel guilty that we're not paying this person enough.
Yeah.
Like, culturally, it's like, no, you're clever and smart if you can get something for less money. Whereas if you feel like you're getting money for not enough work, there's a load of guilt and like it's a thing you're not supposed to do for some reason. It's like, how is that okay? That's just an imbalance in the universe.
I got this. I drew, when we chose the topic, I drew a pyramid because I was like, we've got like men supporting you, women supporting. It's like the bottom line is there are always going to be businesses that try not to pay and try not to pay enough, and that is part of their operating model. Strategy, that is just how they work, and that is a problem that is one that is harder to address other than not working with people like that. I mean, I get it. Restaurants Brighton, I have more problems with people paying and not paying and or expecting us to do things. Like, we got this inquiry from somebody recently going, we're a really small business, we're trying to stay at a pub, we're trying to stay open. I was like, I'm a really small business and I also pay people's wages. Can I come to your pub for a free dinner? No? Then I'm not going to promote you on my platform for free either. I ended up phoning her because there's no other. You can't put that in words in writing and not sound like a total knobhead. But it's like, hello, yeah, you're a small business. Yeah, me too, snap. How have you been paying people's wages through COVID? Yeah, me too. Yeah, right. I mean, come on. So there's a bit of and so I find it, I've got, we've got people we work with, we've got people who pay beautifully. And I make a very serious point of every freelancer invoice that comes in and gets paid immediately. But I've got, venues with massive turnover that pay whenever they feel like it. It's really irritating.
And just to tie that in, like, there's definitely, not all companies.
Yeah, of course.
Not every company is taking But I happen to know that this one that, this, in the one in question I'm talking about has a history of nickel and diming and wriggling out of responsibilities when it comes to, like, oh, can we get away with not paying this? They will. So don't help them do that. No. I did a project for probably really early in my career, 20 years ago, something like that. And I remember, and I just nagged to get paid. I wasn't getting paid, and I bumped into their accountant at Brighton Station rather than in London, and she said, "You're gonna have to send them a threatening letter. That's the only way I can authorise payment." You. Best thing to do is not to work with assholes.
It really is,
because then you might get a bit of help.
But you can't always, it's not always avoidable, and you don't always know until you started working with them. Which is a different problem. But
anyway, let's. So much for short.
Sorry,
50 minutes nearly.
As you can tell, I've got some nice personal. It's like
it's good. I think you would never have known that we just decided on this episode subject 1 minute before we started recording. Thank you for listening. If you like the podcast, go to grandpodcast.com. We've got a Patreon and we record these videos, these podcasts as videos, but guess what? You have to be a patron to see that. So on YouTube, you get, like, it's the thumbnail image and the audio, but if you sign up for Patreon, like $1 a month, you get like a full 50-minute video of our faces. And some like little live footage, some little nice clips. You've got to send me some more clips, by the way. The music brought to life a little bit more. You can see our spaces, see where we are. And just like, see all the visual things we're constantly doing.
See all the strange mouth movements that I make when I'm talking. And the hand waving.
And you also get to join our Slack, which and talk to us as well. So, so many rewards for so little outlay. So brilliant. Why not come and support us that way? And it's a lot more work for me to produce these videos, so that's why. Guess what? I have to have an external drive that I plug in to edit the videos to put all the temporary files on. I have to bring that with me all the time now, just so that I can make sure I can edit an hour. 1 hour long videos. There's a lot of footage to deal with, and then render, and then upload, and then wait to process, and then cut snippets out of, and then share those on all the different social media. Anyway, patreon.com/grandpodcast. Where can people find you, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter.
You can find me at Michael Forrest on lots of platforms. There is Twitter. There's SoundCloud. Let's just throw that in. Beyond that, well...
Aren't you on Spotify as well?
Yeah, my music is on Spotify. Michael Forrest.
I mean, I know you don't get any benefit from me listening to you on Spotify.
If you add my music to a playlist, that can help.
Oh, okay.
Because that's how the algorithm works. It looks at playlists, and then if it sees things on playlists, it'll put them on other playlists. So, if you want to help me as a musician, add me to some playlists or a playlist. That's the only way with Spotify. And again, I'm very sorry for all the background noise this week, but they're sorting the heating out, which apparently involves banging for an hour.
Yeah.
Don't know why that is. All right. Well, thanks for listening. grandpodcast.com. Everything's there. And we'll see you next week. Bye. 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 Bye.